Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. So today we continue on our journey of Maha Mrtyunjaya Mantra in Holy Hour. Om, that supreme truth. Trayambakam, the one with three eyes, the eye of justice, the eye of compassion, the eye of wisdom. Yajamahe, we worship you. And yesterday we saw this word Yajamahe in detail as per chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita. That it means contemplate on you. And if not, if I can't contemplate on you, God, then let me at least concentrate on you. And if that's very, very difficult, then let me channel everything that I do towards you. And if that still is very difficult, let me be content and let me be happy with whatever you have given to me. Let me be accepting that, or as we call prasada buddhi. So all of this means to worship God in whatever way we can. So every second of our life, we can worship God. Now the question becomes, why should we worship God? We learned how to worship God yesterday, but why should we worship God? Does God need worshiping? I mean, God is this all-powerful, almighty, all-strong being. Does God really need us to worship God? And the answer is, we need to worship God. We need to worship God because on worshiping God, we become like God. And that leads us to the next name or the next term for Bhagavan Shiva, which is Sugandhim. Sugandhim means the one who is fragrant. We worship Lord Shiva, the one who is fragrant, so we can become fragrant like him. What is fragrance? Fragrance is something that stays with us. When we're walking outside a deli or a Dunkin' Donuts, the donuts go, but the smell stays. We walk outside a Starbucks and the coffee goes, we pass by it, but the smell of it stays. And that smell makes you linger, makes you think. We keep some fresh flowers in our home. And though we are away from the flowers, if they have a strong smell, the smell lingers. When we wear perfume or when some people wear cologne on their clothes, the smell still lingers. That is called fragrance. It is that which lingers. It is that essence which lingers, the essence of a thing which lingers. And fragrance in our Shastra is called Vasana. Vasana comes from the word vas, which means it dwells. Chitte vasyamanatvat iti vasana. It dwells in our subconscious. And because it lingers like a fragrance, it is called vasana. It dwells, it lingers. And what happens is, we all know what we have to do. For the most part, we all know what we have to do. But we cannot bring ourselves to do it. We cannot bring ourselves to be the ideal person that we want to be. We always fall back on something or the other. And we fall short of our mark. We strive to be better, braver, bolder, purer, healthier. But there are certain places where we just fall short. And the reason we're falling short is because of our vasanas. Because we're habituated to living a certain way. So to make that change, becomes very challenging. It's not easy to change a habit. And so many people try many things to change habits. Many people try their own efforts, their own remedies to change certain habits. But it still is challenging. What is the sure shot way to change any habit? The sure shot way to change any habit is to worship God. That is why we worship God. We worship God to transform our vasanas. Of course, there are positive vasanas and there are also negative vasanas. But to transform those negative vasanas into positive vasanas, we worship God. Because whenever we think about God, we become like that. Whatever we think of, whatever we chant, whatever we say, whatever we listen to, we become like that. When we listen to some kind of music in the shower, our mind matches that frequency of that song. So therefore, we need to worship God. God doesn't need us to worship him or her. And we need to worship God because Sugandhim, God is the epitome of good fragrance. That Bhagavan or Bhagavati has got full knowledge, has got full dispassion, full dharma, full splendor, full glory, full intelligence. And so when we plug into that, when we worship that, we also get it. And this can be seen very beautifully in the transformation of Sati to Parvati Mata. Sati, Mother Sati, was married to Bhagavan Shiva. And we know the story that, Daksha, her father, had a yajna. And in this yajna, all of the devatas were invited, and Lord Shiva was also there. And when Daksha entered the hall, Lord Shiva did not greet him. And because of this, Daksha was so insulted, and he said that I will not invite you for my yajna. And Daksha had this huge yajna, and he did not keep any offering for Lord Shiva. He did not invite Lord Shiva or even his daughter Sati. And his daughter heard that so many people are being invited to her father's yajna. And she felt so bad. And she told Lord Shiva, can I go? Why don't I go? I know we're not invited, but this is my father's house and I'm his daughter. And Lord Shiva said, there's pride in your father. And that's the reason we should not go. It will not be a good result. But she said, I want to see. She had that kind of doubt. She had that kind of quest that she wanted to still see what is there. And so she went. And when she went, she was insulted there. Nobody really recognized her. Nobody paid attention to her. And she said, how can all of you have the yajna without Bhagavan Shiva, without inviting Bhagavan Shiva? And so she said, I should have stayed with Bhagavan Shiva. I should have not left him. I should have stayed with him had I known that all of this would happen. And so she says, I want to be with Lord Shiva, but not in this embodiment. I want to prepare myself. I want to raise myself to a higher level. And therefore, she gives up her life. She says, I will be reborn and let me go through that process of tapasya, of sincere austerity, and I will gain back Lord Shiva. And this time, I will trust him. So in her first session, her first stage with Lord Shiva, there was that distrust, that let me go, let me see what's there. In her second birth, she comes as Parvati Mata. And this Parvati Mata, she is the daughter of Parvat. She's the daughter of the mountain. And so her faith is like a mountain. Her faith becomes unshakable. And she lives her life, her younger years, as a brahmacharini. She chooses to leave everything and she chooses to serve Lord Shiva and spend a lot of time in deep austerity. And when she thinks about Lord Shiva and constantly thinks and contemplates on Lord Shiva and contemplates on him, at that appointed time, Lord Shiva, in fact, comes to her and marries her. And they are both Shiva and Shakti, or what we call also Ardha Narishwara. So Bhagavan Shiva has that form that half of him is Shakti, half of him is Shiva. So that journey of Sati to Parvati happened how? Because she worshipped the divine. And why? What did it do? It changed her vasana. It changed her doubt. It changed her distrust to complete faith. And all she did is worship. So, if we too want to change our habits, want to change something in our lives, the easiest way is just to worship God. And when we do, change will happen. So, our effort is to be put forth in worship, and change automatically happens. So, this is called Sugandhim. We worship the one who is ever fragrant. And let that fragrance transfer from Bhagavan to us.